The dinner rush at Romano's Italian restaurant was in full swing. Steam rose from plates of pasta as they passed through the kitchen doors. The smell of garlic bread and tomato sauce filled the air. Crystal glasses clinked together as waiters moved between tables with practiced ease. In the middle of it all, a young woman balanced 3 plates on her left arm while carrying a pitcher of water in her right hand. Her name tag read Anna, and she'd been working at Romano's for almost 3 years now. 3 years of double shifts, sore feet, and forced smiles. 3 years of yes ma'am and right away sir and I'll get that for you immediately. But Anna didn't complain. She couldn't afford to. The restaurant was beautiful, she had to admit. Dark wood paneling lined the walls. Soft amber lights created a warm glow over every table. White tablecloths. Fresh flowers. The kind of place where people celebrated anniversaries and closed business deals. The kind of place where a single meal cost more than Anna made in a full day's work. And there, in the corner near the large windows overlooking the city lights, sat the piano. It was a gorgeous instrument. A black grand piano that gleamed under a small spotlight. Every time Anna walked past it, her fingers would twitch slightly. Old habits. Old memories. A life that felt like it belonged to someone else now. Tonight was special. The entire back section of the restaurant had been reserved for a private party. Some big shot from the music industry was celebrating his 50th birthday. Anna had overheard the manager talking about it for weeks. He'd been nervous, wanting everything to be perfect. These were important people. Wealthy people. The kind who could make or break a restaurant's reputation with a single review. The guests had started arriving around 7. Expensive suits. Designer dresses. The kind of jewelry that probably cost more than Anna's car. They laughed loudly and air-kissed each other's cheeks. Anna recognized a few faces from television and magazines, though she couldn't quite place where she'd seen them. Table 12 needs more wine, another server whispered as she rushed past. Anna nodded and grabbed a bottle from the bar. As she approached the table, she caught fragments of conversation. Simply divine in Paris this time of year. Closed the deal for $3.5 million. Summer home in the Hamptons. She poured the wine carefully, refilled water glasses, cleared away empty appetizer plates. Invisible. That was the trick to being a good server in a place like this. Be there when needed, disappear when not. Read the table. Anticipate needs. Never interrupt. Never make it about yourself. Excuse me, miss? A woman with perfectly styled silver hair caught Anna's attention. Is the pianist running late? Anna glanced toward the empty piano bench. I'm not sure, ma'am. Let me check with the manager. She found him in the kitchen, looking stressed as usual. His forehead was shiny with sweat. Mr. Hensley isn't coming, he said before Anna could even ask. Called in sick an hour ago. Food poisoning or something. I've been trying to find a replacement, but everyone's booked on a Friday night. Anna felt a small pang in her chest. Mr. Hensley was a kind old man who always played beautifully. Classical pieces mostly. Sinatra standards. The occasional Billy Joel song when guests requested it. His music made the shifts go by faster. It made the restaurant feel alive. The birthday guy keeps asking about it, the manager continued, running his hand through his thinning hair. This is a disaster. Anna returned to the dining room. The party was getting louder now. Multiple courses had been served. Wine flowed freely, but something felt off without the music. The space felt empty somehow. Incomplete. She cleared plates from table 9, refilled bread baskets for table 14, brought out another round of drinks. Her feet ached. Her lower back had that familiar tight feeling from hours of standing. But she kept moving. That was the job. During a brief quiet moment, Anna found herself standing near the piano. Her reflection stared back at her from its polished surface. She looked tired, older than her 26 years. When had that happened? Her right hand reached out almost on its own, fingers hovering an inch above the keys. She didn't touch them. She never did. But she remembered how they felt. Smooth, cool, responsive. She remembered the weight of each key, the way they would sink under her fingertips, the satisfying click as hammers struck strings inside. Anna. Table 7 needs their check. Another server's voice broke through her thoughts. She pulled her hand back quickly and hurried away. The truth was, Anna had once been good. Really good. Not just good for a kid who took lessons. Not just good enough to play at family gatherings. She'd been conservatory good, scholarship good, future good. She'd started lessons when she was 5 years old. Her mother had found a used upright piano at a yard sale for $50. It was out of tune and missing 2 keys, but Anna had loved it anyway. By age 7, her teacher said she had remarkable natural ability. By age 12, she was winning regional competitions. By 16, she'd been accepted to 3 different prestigious music programs. The plan had been clear: study piano performance, maybe do some teaching on the side, hopefully play with an orchestra someday. It wasn't about fame or money. It was about the music itself. The way it made her feel. The way nothing else in the world mattered when she was playing. But then life happened. Life always happens. Her father had gotten sick during her first semester. Cancer, the aggressive kind. Treatment was expensive. Insurance didn't cover everything. Someone had to help with bills. Someone had to be there for doctor's appointments and chemotherapy sessions. Someone had to keep the family afloat. Anna had withdrawn from school. Just for a semester, she'd told herself. Just until Dad gets better. That was 3.5 years ago. Her father was in remission now, thank God. But the medical bills remained. The credit card debt remained. The need for a steady paycheck remained. And somehow the dream of going back to school felt further away than ever. Life had moved on. She'd gotten left behind. "Hey, Space Cadet." One of the other servers snapped his fingers near her face. "You okay?" "You've been standing there staring at nothing for like 30 seconds. "Sorry," Anna said quickly. "Just tired. Aren't we all?" he muttered, walking away with a tray of desserts. Anna shook her head, trying to clear away the memories. They didn't help anything. They just made her sad. Made her wonder about different choices, different paths, different versions of her life. The birthday party was reaching its peak now. Dessert had been served. Candles had been blown out. Champagne toasts had been made. Everyone seemed happy. Everyone except the guest of honor, apparently. His voice carried across the restaurant, loud and irritated. "I specifically asked about live music. How can you call this a fine dining establishment without a pianist? This is completely unacceptable." Anna watched as the manager hurried over, his face pale, hands raised in apology. She felt bad for him. None of this was his fault. But as she stood there, watching the empty piano bench, watching her stressed manager trying to calm an angry customer, something stirred inside her. Something she'd kept buried for a long time. Maybe. Just maybe. No. That was crazy, wasn't it? The manager's face had gone from pale to almost gray. Anna watched as he practically bowed to the angry guest, apologizing over and over. The man wasn't having it. His voice got louder with each complaint. "Do you know how much money I've spent here tonight? And you can't even provide basic ambiance?" Other diners were starting to look over now. Some with curiosity. Others with annoyance. The mood in the restaurant was shifting. Anna could feel it. That uncomfortable tension when one person's anger starts affecting everyone else's evening. The manager backed away from the table, nearly stumbling over his own feet. He rushed toward the kitchen, loosening his tie like he couldn't breathe. Anna knew that look. Pure panic. The kind that comes when everything's going wrong and you don't know how to fix it. She should get back to work. Table 6 needed their entrees. Table 11 wanted dessert menus. This wasn't her problem. But her feet carried her toward the kitchen anyway. Inside, the manager was on his phone, scrolling frantically through contacts. Come on, he muttered. "Somebody has to be available." "Mr. Peterson?" Anna said quietly. He barely looked up. "Not now, Anna. Unless you know a professional pianist who can be here in the next 5 minutes." The words came out before she could stop them. "Actually, I play piano." Now he looked up. His expression was confused, like he'd just heard her speak in a foreign language. "What?" "I play piano," Anna repeated, her heart already beating faster. "I saw on my application when I first applied here. Under special skills." Mr. Peterson blinked. Then he seemed to remember. "That's right. You did mention something about music school. But that was years ago, wasn't it?" 3 years, Anna said. "But I still remember how." He studied her face and she could see him calculating. Weighing options. "Desperate times and all that, how good are you?" he asked. Anna hesitated. How did you answer that? If she said she was amazing, she'd sound arrogant. If she downplayed it too much, he wouldn't let her try. "I'm good enough," she finally said. Mr. Peterson glanced toward the dining room, where the angry guest's voice could still be heard complaining. Then he looked back at Anna. She could practically see the desperation in his eyes. Can you play background music? Classical stuff? Nothing too fancy, just something pleasant? Yes, Anna said, though her mouth had gone dry. Fine. Okay. Yes, please. He grabbed her shoulders like she was a life preserver and he was drowning. Just keep it simple. Keep it nice. Keep that guy from giving us a 1-star review on every platform in existence. Anna nodded, but her hands had started shaking. What had she just agreed to? Go now, please, Mr. Peterson urged. She walked back into the dining room on legs that felt like they belonged to someone else. The piano sat in the corner, waiting. Spotlit. Suddenly it looked enormous, intimidating, like it had grown larger since she'd last looked at it. Anna was acutely aware of her appearance, her server's uniform with its small stains from the kitchen, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, her comfortable shoes that were practical but definitely not elegant. She didn't look like a pianist. She looked like exactly what she was, a waitress. Several guests watched her approach the piano. She could hear whispered questions. Is she going to play? The server? Is this some kind of show? Someone laughed. Not meanly exactly, but not kindly either. That casual, dismissive laugh that said they didn't expect much. Anna sat down on the bench. The leather was smooth and cool. The piano keys stretched out before her like a challenge, like a test, like everything she'd given up staring her in the face. Her hands hovered over the keys. They were shaking visibly now. She tried to steady them but couldn't. 3 years. It had been 3 years since she'd played in front of anyone. 3 years since her fingers had touched any piano keys at all, actually. She'd been too busy working, too busy surviving, too busy to even visit the music building at the community college where they had practice rooms. What if she couldn't do this anymore? What if she'd lost it? Muscle memory only lasted so long. Maybe it had been too long. Anna took a deep breath. Then another. She thought about what Mr. Peterson had said. Keep it simple. Keep it pleasant. Background music. Nothing fancy, she could do that. She had to do that. Her fingers found the opening notes of Moon River. A safe choice. A classic. The kind of song everyone knew but nobody paid too much attention to. Perfect for a restaurant setting. The first note came out softer than she intended. Her finger had barely pressed the key, tentative and uncertain. But it was a note. An actual note. She'd started. The second note followed. Then the third. Slowly, carefully, the melody began to take shape. Anna kept her touch light, gentle. She wasn't trying to perform. She was just trying to fill the silence, trying to give Mr. Peterson what he needed, trying not to mess this up. Around her, conversations gradually resumed. The tension in the room eased slightly. Forks clinked against plates again. Wine was poured. The angry guest had stopped complaining, though Anna didn't dare look in his direction. She played through Moon River once, then looped back to the beginning. Her hands had stopped shaking quite so much. The keys felt familiar under her fingertips. Not like home exactly, but like a place she used to know, a place she remembered. Part of her brain was still in server mode, though. She kept thinking about her tables. Who needed what? Who was probably ready for their check? How the other servers were having to cover for her. She'd owe them for this. The song ended. There was a brief smattering of applause, polite, minimal. The kind of response you'd give to elevator music. Anna's cheeks burned. She'd expected nothing less, but somehow it still stung. She should get up now. She'd done what Mr. Peterson asked. Crisis averted. She could go back to being invisible again, back to carrying plates and refilling water glasses, back to her real life. But something was happening inside her chest, something she hadn't felt in 3 years. It started small like a spark. Then it grew, a warmth, a pull, a hunger. Her hands were still on the keys. She'd meant to lift them, meant to stand up and walk away, but they stayed there, resting, waiting. Anna glanced around the restaurant. People were eating, talking, living their expensive, comfortable lives, not really seeing her, not really caring. To them, she was just the hired help, background noise, forgettable. And maybe that freedom was exactly what she needed. Because if they weren't really watching, if they weren't really paying attention, then it didn't matter what she played. Did it? Her music theory professor had once told her something. He'd said that playing safe was the enemy of playing well. He'd said that music without risk was just noise. Pretty noise, maybe. But meaningless. Anna had played it safe for 3 years. Safe job, safe choices, safe small, careful life. Always afraid of wanting too much. Always afraid of losing what little she had. But right now, in this moment, with her hands on these keys and nobody really watching anyway, what did she have to lose? Her fingers shifted position, moving away from the simple, easy patterns, moving toward something else. Something bigger. Something that scared her. The opening notes of Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2 echoed through the restaurant. And everything changed. The first chord rang out like a bell, deep, rich, powerful, nothing like the gentle, forgettable melody she'd just finished. Anna's heart hammered in her chest, but her fingers knew what to do. They'd played this piece 100 times, maybe 1,000, back when she still believed in herself, back when music was her entire world. The opening was deceptive. Soft, almost hesitant notes that built slowly. The composer had designed it that way on purpose. Start quiet, draw people in, then hit them with everything. Anna could feel the shift in the room, though she kept her eyes on the keys. Conversations didn't stop immediately, but they started to fade. One table went quiet, then another, like ripples spreading across water. Her left hand began the deep rolling bass notes, the foundation, the heartbeat of the piece. Her right hand danced above it, carrying the melody higher. The piano responded beautifully, better than any instrument she'd played in years. Every note clear, every tone perfect. This wasn't background music anymore. The piece demanded attention. It required skill, real skill, the kind that took years of practice and discipline. Rapid runs up and down the keyboard, hands crossing over each other, fingers stretching to reach chords that seemed impossible, all while maintaining the emotional core of the music, and Anna played it all. Muscle memory was a strange thing. Her conscious mind was panicking, screaming at her to stop, asking what she thought she was doing. But her hands ignored all that. They remembered. Every note, every rhythm, every subtle dynamic change from soft to loud and back again. The music built, layer upon layer, more complex, more intense. Anna's whole body was involved now, leaning into the powerful sections, pulling back for the tender moments, her foot on the sustain pedal, letting notes ring out and blend together like colors on a canvas. She was distantly aware that the restaurant had gone completely silent. No clinking glasses, no scraping forks, no conversation at all, just the piano, just the music, just her. And for the first time in 3 years, Anna wasn't thinking about bills or responsibilities or the weight of the world on her shoulders. She wasn't thinking at all. She was just feeling, just being, just playing. The piece was telling a story. That's what her old teacher used to say. Every good performance told a story, and Anna knew this story by heart. It was about longing, about loss, about beauty that hurt because you couldn't hold on to it forever. It was about everything she'd given up. Her fingers flew across the keys in a particularly challenging section, notes tumbling over each other so fast they almost blurred together, but each one had to be precise. Each one mattered. One wrong note and the whole thing would fall apart. She didn't miss a single one. The music swelled toward its first big climax. Both hands working together now, filling the entire restaurant with sound. The piano seemed to sing, to cry, to shout. Anna pressed harder into the keys, giving it everything she had. Years of frustration poured out through her fingertips. Years of saying yes when she wanted to say no. Years of being small and quiet and invisible. This was not small. This was not quiet. This was not invisible. She could feel tears on her cheeks but didn't stop to wipe them away. Couldn't stop. The music wouldn't let her. It pulled her forward, demanded more, refused to let her hide. The climax passed. The music softened again. Gentle now, almost broken, like something beautiful that had been shattered and was trying to put itself back together. Anna's touch on the keys became lighter, more delicate. Each note a question, each phrase searching for an answer. This was the section that always got to her. The part where the melody returned, transformed, still recognizable but different somehow. Sadder, wiser. Like it had been through something and survived but would never be quite the same. She understood that feeling. The middle section approached. Technically, this was the hardest part. Her hands would have to move faster than seemed humanly possible, reach further than felt comfortable. The composer had been a virtuoso pianist himself. He'd written music that only the very best players could handle. Anna had been one of those players once. She'd won a regional competition with this exact piece when she was 18. The judges had stood up when she finished. Her teacher had cried, could she still do it? After 3 years of nothing? After 3 years of letting her gift gather dust while she served other people's food and cleaned other people's tables? There was only one way to find out. She launched into the difficult section without hesitation. Her fingers became a blur. Notes cascaded from the piano like water rushing over rocks. The rhythm was relentless. Driving forward, no time to think, no time to doubt, just pure technique and instinct and trust that her hands would remember what her mind had forgotten. They did. Every run was clean. Every jump was accurate. Every chord landed exactly where it should. Anna felt like she was flying, like she'd been walking on the ground for 3 years and suddenly remembered she had wings. This was who she really was. Not the tired waitress. Not the responsible daughter. Not the person who'd given up her dreams. This was who she'd been meant to be all along. The music climbed higher, brighter, more urgent. Building toward something, Anna could feel it coming. The final statement of the main theme, the moment when everything came together, when all the struggle and beauty and pain resolved into something transcendent. She was almost there. Her hands were getting tired, but she didn't care. Sweat dampened her forehead. Her back ached from the intensity of her playing. None of it mattered. Nothing mattered except finishing this, saying what she needed to say, playing what she needed to play. The melody returned one last time. Triumphant now. No longer questioning. No longer uncertain. This was the answer. This was the resolution. Everything had been leading to this moment. Anna's whole body moved with the music. She poured her entire soul into these final measures. Every ounce of hope she'd buried. Every dream she'd surrendered. Every tear she'd cried in the dark when nobody was watching. All of it channeled through her hands and into the keys and out into the world. The final chord came. Both hands. All 10 fingers. Every note ringing out together in perfect harmony. She held it. Let it sustain. Let it fill every corner of the restaurant. Let it say everything she couldn't put into words, then slowly, reluctantly, she lifted her hands from the keys. The silence that followed was absolute. Complete. So profound that Anna could hear her own heartbeat, could hear her own breathing, could hear the slight creak of the piano bench as she sat frozen, afraid to move, afraid to look up, afraid to see the faces of all those people who'd witnessed what just happened. She'd lost control. She'd been supposed to play something simple and forgettable. Instead, she'd exposed herself completely, shown them everything she was, everything she'd lost, everything she could have been. What had she done? The silence stretched on. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3, 4, 5. Anna finally found the courage to look up, and that's when she saw him. The birthday guest, the angry man who'd complained about everything. He was standing, and his face was wet with tears. Then he started to clap. The man's applause started slow, deliberate, each clap echoing through the silent restaurant like a drumbeat. Then his wife stood up beside him, clapping too. Then someone else, then another person, then everyone. The entire restaurant erupted. Anna sat frozen at the piano bench, unable to process what was happening. The sound was overwhelming. Applause thundered from every direction. People weren't just clapping politely anymore. They were standing, cheering. Some had their hands raised high. Others were wiping their eyes. She saw Mr. Peterson standing by the kitchen door, his mouth hanging open in complete shock. The other servers had stopped mid-task, frozen with trays in their hands, staring at her like they'd never seen her before. Maybe they hadn't. Not really. The birthday guest was making his way toward the piano now. Anna's instinct was to run, to disappear into the kitchen and hide in the walk-in freezer until everyone forgot this happened. But her legs wouldn't move. She sat there, hands trembling in her lap as this wealthy, important man approached. Up close, she could see his face more clearly. He was older than she'd thought. Maybe late 50s. Gray hair styled perfectly. Expensive suit that probably cost more than her rent for 6 months. But his eyes were red from crying. Real tears. Not fake emotion from someone pretending to be moved. That was extraordinary, he said, and his voice cracked slightly. Absolutely extraordinary. Anna didn't know what to say. Thank you seemed too small. Too simple. She settled for a nod. Do you know what you just played? He asked. Rachmaninoff, Anna managed to say. Piano Concerto No. 2. One of the most difficult pieces in the entire classical repertoire, the man said. He looked at her with genuine curiosity. Where did you study? The question landed like a weight in her stomach. I was at the conservatory for 1 semester. Then I had to leave. Had to leave? He seemed shocked by this. With talent like that? Anna felt her throat tighten. She didn't want to explain. Didn't want to tell this stranger about her sick father and the medical bills and the choice that hadn't really felt like a choice at all. But something about the way he was looking at her with real interest and concern made the words come out. My father got sick, she said quietly. Someone needed to work. To help with bills, so I left school and came here. The man was silent for a moment, processing this. Around them, the applause had finally died down, but people were still standing, still watching. Anna was painfully aware of dozens of eyes on her. What's your name? He asked. Anna. Anna, my name is David Mitchell. I'm a music producer. I work with orchestras, concert halls, recording artists. He pulled out a business card from his jacket pocket. The cardstock was thick and expensive looking. Embossed letters. I've been in this industry for 30 years. I've heard thousands of pianists, professionals, competition winners, people who've dedicated their entire lives to music. Anna took the card with shaking hands, not sure where this was going. What you just played, David continued, with that level of technical skill and emotional depth, after 3 years away from the instrument? He shook his head in disbelief. That's not just talent. That's genius. That's the kind of gift that comes along maybe once in a generation. The word sounded impossible. Too big, too much. Anna was just a waitress who'd played piano as a kid. Nothing special. Nothing worth all this attention. But David wasn't finished. I want to help you, he said. I don't know what your situation is exactly. But talent like yours shouldn't be serving tables. No offense to your work, he added quickly. But you belong on a stage. In a concert hall. Recording studios. You belong where people can hear you play. Anna felt tears starting again. She blinked them back. I can't afford to go back to school. My father's in remission now, but the debt... What if money wasn't the issue? David asked. What if I told you I have connections with several music programs? What if I told you I could make some calls, set up some auditions? There are scholarships, grants, ways to make this work. It sounded too good to be true. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. This was the kind of story you saw in movies, not real life. I don't understand, Anna said. Why would you do this? You don't even know me. David smiled, but it was sad somehow. 25 years ago, I had a daughter. She played piano too. She was talented. Maybe not at your level, but she loved it more than anything. He paused, and Anna saw pain cross his face. She died in a car accident when she was 17. Never got to pursue her dreams. Never got to see what she could have become. The restaurant had gone quiet again. Other guests were starting to approach now, hovering at a respectful distance but clearly wanting to speak with Anna too. When I heard you play just now, David continued, I heard what my daughter might have sounded like if she'd had more time. And I thought about all the talented people out there who never get a chance, who have to give up their gifts because of circumstances beyond their control. He looked directly into Anna's eyes. I can't bring my daughter back. But maybe I can help make sure your talent doesn't die too. Will you let me try? Anna couldn't speak, couldn't form words. She just nodded, tears streaming down her face now, not even trying to hide them anymore. David handed her another card. This is my personal number. Call me tomorrow. We'll figure this out together. I promise you, Anna, this doesn't have to be the end of your story. It can be a new beginning. Other guests were coming forward now. A woman in a beautiful emerald dress introduced herself as a concert organizer. A younger man said he worked for a classical music magazine. Someone else mentioned a recording label. All of them wanted to talk. Wanted her contact information. Wanted to know when they could hear her play again. Anna felt overwhelmed. Like she'd fallen through some doorway into an alternate universe where impossible things happened and dreams came true. Mr. Peterson appeared at her elbow, looking dazed. Anna, I had no idea. All this time you've been working here and I had no idea. She turned to him, suddenly worried. I'm sorry I didn't just play background music like you asked. I don't know what came over me. If this caused problem, he laughed. Actually laughed. Problems? Anna, the birthday guest, just doubled his payment for tonight and asked if you could play at his company's holiday party next month. For triple your monthly wages here, for one evening. He shook his head in amazement. I should be apologizing to you. 3 years you've worked here, and I never knew we had someone so extraordinary right under our nose. The other servers were gathering around now, too. Some looked genuinely happy for her. Others seemed stunned. One of them, Rachel, who Anna had worked alongside for 2 years, had tears in her eyes. That was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard, Rachel said softly. I knew you mentioned music school once, but Anna, that was incredible. Anna looked around at all these faces. The wealthy guests who'd barely noticed her an hour ago now treating her like someone important. Her coworkers seeing her differently. Mr. Peterson talking about opportunities and money. David Mitchell promising to change her life. It was too much. Too fast. Too overwhelming. I need some air, she said suddenly. She stood up from the piano bench and walked quickly toward the back exit, past the kitchen, out into the cool night air of the alley behind the restaurant. She leaned against the brick wall, trying to catch her breath, trying to make sense of what had just happened. One moment she'd been a waitress. The next moment everything had changed, just like that. Because she'd taken a risk. Because she'd played from her heart instead of playing it safe. The door opened behind her. Anna turned, expecting Mr. Peterson or maybe Rachel, but it was David Mitchell. He held up his hands. Sorry, I don't mean to intrude. I just wanted to make sure you were okay. I don't know if I'm okay, Anna admitted. This doesn't feel real. I understand, David said gently. But I meant what I said in there. Every word. Tomorrow, if you call me, we start making plans. Real plans. For your future. For your music. Anna looked at the business card still clutched in her hand. Then she looked up at the night sky where stars were just beginning to appear above the city lights. Okay, she whispered. Then louder, stronger. Okay, yes, I'll call you. David smiled. Good. The world needs to hear you play, Anna. Don't hide that gift anymore. He went back inside, leaving Anna alone in the alley. She stayed there for a few more minutes, breathing in the cool air, letting reality slowly settle over her. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A text from her father. How's work? Don't forget to eat something during your shift. Anna stared at the message. She thought about everything that had just happened. Everything that might happen next. And she realized she had to tell him. Had to share this impossible, wonderful, terrifying turn her life had just taken. She typed back. Dad, something amazing just happened. I'll tell you everything when I get home. But I think maybe I get to play piano again. Really play. Like we always dreamed. The reply came quickly. I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. I always knew this day would come. Anna smiled through fresh tears and tucked her phone away. Then she straightened her uniform, wiped her eyes, and walked back inside. She still had a shift to finish. Tables to clear. Customers to serve, but tomorrow she would make a phone call that would change everything. 2 months passed like a dream Anna was afraid to wake up from. The morning after that night at Romano's, she'd stared at David Mitchell's business card for 20 minutes, before finally finding the courage to call. Her hands had shaken so badly she'd almost dropped the phone twice, but she'd made the call. And he'd answered on the second ring like he'd been waiting. That first conversation led to another. Then a meeting. Then an audition at a prestigious music academy, where the panel of judges sat in stunned silence after she played. Then scholarship applications, phone calls with financial aid officers, meetings with advisors who helped navigate the complicated world of grants and assistance programs. David had been there for all of it. Not doing it for her, but guiding her through it. Teaching her how to advocate for herself, how to ask for what she deserved, how to believe she was worth investing in. The medical debt that had haunted Anna's family for years, David connected them with a nonprofit organization that negotiated it down to a manageable amount. He didn't pay it himself, which Anna appreciated. She didn't want charity, but he opened doors she hadn't known existed. Her father's health had stabilized enough that he'd found part-time work again. Nothing strenuous, but enough to contribute, enough to feel useful. The tight knot of financial panic that had lived in Anna's chest for 3 years was finally starting to loosen. She'd given her notice at Romano's. Mr. Peterson had been disappointed but understanding. He'd thrown her a small goodbye party on her last shift. The servers had pooled their tips to buy her a gift card to a music store. Rachel had cried and made Anna promise to stay in touch. "You better invite me to your first big concert," Rachel had said, hugging her tight. "Front row seat," Anna had promised. "I mean it." Now standing backstage at the Riverside Concert Hall, Anna could barely believe this moment had arrived. The benefit concert David had organized was titled Second Chances. All proceeds would go toward a scholarship fund for talented musicians who'd had to abandon their studies due to financial hardship. The fund was named after David's daughter, the Julia Mitchell Memorial Scholarship. Anna would be the first recipient, but the goal was to help dozens more in the years to come. Hundreds, maybe, so that other talented kids wouldn't have to choose between their gifts and their families. Anna peeked through the side curtain at the audience. The theater was packed. Every seat filled. She recognized some faces from that night at Romano's, but most were strangers. People who'd read about her story in the local paper. People who'd seen the video someone had taken on their phone of her playing that night, which had somehow gone viral online. People who just loved music and wanted to support a good cause, and there in the front row sat her father. He looked thin still but healthy, his eyes bright. He wore his best suit, the one he'd worn to her high school graduation. Beside him sat her mother, who'd taken the day off work. They were holding hands, both of them crying already, and the concert hadn't even started yet. 5 minutes, a stagehand called out. Anna's stomach flipped. She'd performed before. Lots of times, competitions, recitals, student concerts. But this was different. This wasn't just about her anymore. This was about everyone who'd been told their dreams didn't matter. Everyone who'd had to sacrifice their passions for survival. Everyone who'd been invisible. She thought about that night 2 months ago. How she'd been invisible then too. Just another waitress in a nice restaurant. Nobody special. Nobody worth noticing. One decision had changed everything. One moment of courage. One choice to play from her heart instead of playing it safe. "You ready?" David appeared beside her, looking elegant in his tuxedo. Over the past 2 months, he'd become something like a mentor. Maybe even a friend. He checked in regularly, offered advice, listened when she got scared or overwhelmed. Never pushed, never demanded. Just supported. "I'm terrified," Anna admitted. "Good," David said with a slight smile. "That means you care. That means it matters." He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "My Julia used to get nervous before performances too. She'd pace backstage driving everyone crazy, but the moment she sat down at her instrument, all that fear transformed into something beautiful, into music that moved people." Anna nodded, not trusting herself to speak. "You've already done the hard part," David continued. "You found your way back to music. You fought for your dream when the world made it incredibly difficult. Playing tonight? That's the easy part. That's just sharing your gift. What if I mess up?" Anna asked quietly. "Then you mess up," David said simply. "You're human. Humans make mistakes. But Anna, I've heard you play this piece a dozen times over the past 2 months. You know it cold. Your fingers could play it in your sleep. Trust yourself. Trust your training. Trust what you're about to do." The stage manager approached. "We're ready for you, Anna." This was it. The moment that would mark her return to the world she'd thought she'd lost forever. Anna walked toward the stage entrance, her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. She wore a simple but elegant navy blue dress that David's wife had helped her pick out. Her hair was styled professionally for the first time in years. She looked like a pianist now. She felt like one too. The stage lights were bright and warm. The piano sat center stage, spotlit, waiting for her just like it had that night at Romano's. But this piano was different. A full concert grand, one of the finest instruments in the state. The kind of piano she'd dreamed of playing someday. Applause filled the hall as she walked out. Anna took her time crossing the stage, trying to breathe, trying to stay present. She reached the piano bench and sat down, adjusted her position slightly, placed her hands on her lap and waited for the applause to fade. The silence that followed felt sacred. Hundreds of people waiting to hear what she would create, waiting to be moved, waiting to feel something. Anna looked out at the audience, found her parents in the front row. Her father gave her a small nod. Her mother pressed her hand to her heart. That simple gesture nearly undid her. She looked at David sitting a few seats away. He smiled encouragingly. Then Anna turned her attention to the piano keys, to the instrument that had been her first love, her greatest joy, her deepest loss, and now impossibly her second chance. She lifted her hands and placed them gently on the keys. The familiar cool smoothness, the weight and resistance she knew so well. Home. This was home. The first notes of Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2 filled the concert hall, the same piece she'd played that night. But different now, not desperate or defiant, not proving anything, just honest, just true, just beautiful. Anna played with everything she had. Every lesson learned, every hardship overcome, every moment of doubt and fear and hope. She played for her father in his hospital bed, for her mother working double shifts, for herself at 19, leaving school with tears streaming down her face, for everyone who'd ever had to choose between their dreams and their survival. The music soared. It whispered. It shouted. It sang of loss and redemption, of endings that become beginnings, of gifts that refuse to stay buried, no matter how deep you try to hide them. And as Anna played, she realized something profound. This wasn't just about her returning to music. It was about music returning to her, reclaiming her, reminding her of who she'd always been underneath all the struggle and sacrifice. The final notes rang out clear and strong. Anna held them, savoring the sound, savoring this moment. Then slowly she lifted her hands from the keys. The silence lasted only a heartbeat before the entire theater exploded, people leaping to their feet, applause like thunder, cheers and whistles and shouts of bravo. Her mother was sobbing openly now. Her father stood clapping with his hands raised high, his face shining with pure joy. Anna stood and took a bow, then another. The applause didn't stop, didn't fade. She looked out at all these people, all this love and support from strangers who'd become witnesses to her story. David was standing too, clapping steadily, his own eyes wet. He mouthed 2 words to her. Thank you. But Anna wanted to tell him that she was the one who should be thankful. Thankful for that horrible moment when Mr. Hensley called in sick. Thankful for that split-second decision to offer to play. Thankful for David's generosity and belief in her. Thankful for every single step that had led to this moment. Later, after the concert ended, after she'd met dozens of people and signed programs and posed for photos, Anna found a quiet moment alone at the piano. The theater was mostly empty now, just a few crew members cleaning up. The house lights were on, making everything look ordinary again. She sat at the piano one more time, played a simple scale, up and down, the most basic exercise any piano student learns. But it felt profound somehow. A promise, a commitment, a recognition that this was just the beginning of a new chapter, not the ending of the story. Her phone buzzed. A text from Rachel. I'm watching the video someone posted online. Anna, you were amazing. So proud of you. Anna smiled and typed back. Couldn't have done it without that night at Romano's. Weird how life works sometimes. The universe knew what it was doing, Rachel replied. You were meant for this. Maybe she was right. Maybe everything had happened exactly the way it needed to. The illness, the sacrifice, the years of struggle, the random Friday night when she'd taken a chance. Anna stood up from the piano bench and looked around the beautiful concert hall one more time. Soon there would be other performances, other opportunities. The scholarship would allow her to finish her degree, to study with master teachers, to develop her skills even further. But more than that, she would get to be herself again. Not the waitress, not the caretaker, not the girl who'd given up her dreams. Just Anna, a pianist, a musician, a person whose gift had survived everything and emerged stronger. She walked off stage where her parents were waiting to take her home. Tomorrow she would start preparing for her next performance. Tomorrow she would begin her new life. But tonight, she would simply be grateful. For second chances, for courage, for music, for every impossible, wonderful turn her life had taken, and for the reminder that sometimes when we're brave enough to share our gifts with the world has a way of sharing its gifts right back.